Can you believe that the first season of Blancpain GT Series Asia is almost at an end? One more race weekend, 2 more races here at the new circuit in China of Zhejiang, and with a wet road, the grid is formed for round 11 of 12 of the championship. And there, looking down onto the grid, the Mercedes-AMG safety car at the head of the grid. It will be a safety car start, so when the race begins, it will be behind this car, and no overtaking will be permitted until the race director is happy to release everybody. But of course, that safety car start will mean that the race begins as the safety car leaves the line, and that means it's going to be fewer racing laps. Championship-wise, in GT3, Marchi Li and Shan Tong come here just 4 points ahead of Hunter Abbott, who had that shocker of a weekend last time out at Shanghai, and then 28 points away from the championship lead, Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel. But with 50 points on offer, they are still very much in the hunt. The 10-minute board is being shown. David Addison trackside, as we look forward to what promises to be a fabulous way to end out this maiden season. And pole position for this first race is to number 66. Christopher Dreispring's debut put him on pole position yesterday. The car to be shared with Sandy Stuvik.
Okay, Sandy Stuvik, starting from pole, a great place to be starting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that we managed to get pole in race 1. It's our second race in a row now on pole. So we'll try to do the best. Shanghai was quite good for us in the wet, so hopefully this will be the same. Now my teammate did a fantastic job, and we just have to keep the rest behind us.
Your thoughts on the track? It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's really tight and twisty. Something new for this season. The Asian tracks are normally very large and quite high speed. This one is very low speed, very technical, but it's been a good challenge.
Okay, all the best today. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks.
So Sandy Stuvik, the Thai Norwegian driver, will do the second stint in this car that he shares with Christopher Dreispring, and that car without any extra pit stop penalty, lining up on pole position on the inside. But of course, the battle from the grid is going to be rather diminished now, given that you don't have to think about defending. It'll be grid order behind the safety car. Only when we properly go racing from a single file start will it become relevant. Looking down onto the grid, of course, it's not just GT3, GT4 as well. And in GT4, you have the championship situation with Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu leading by 12 points from Eric Tong and Brian Lowe. We've had some great racing all season. More of the same still to come. Last time out, we were in Shanghai. Let's have a quick look at the best bits of round 10. The lights went green. It was blast off and virtually 4 abreast on the run down to the first corner. A good start on the inside line by Mitch Gilbert. A brave start, though, by around the outside, Leo Yi, who made contact with Sandy Stuvik, and that delayed Marchi Li. He, in turn, was able to get away with it. Nick Foster on the inside had the car get away from him. There may have been contact, but hard to gauge. Either way, it spun, and he was then given a whack by the unsighted Bentley in the hands of Andrew Kim. There was more drama on the opening lap as well, as out wide ran Sandy Stuvik, so that enabled Aidan Reed to nip up the inside, although that car faded late race and fell in the end to 11th position. Stuvik was busy squabbling, though, early in the race with the 277 Porsche, until that, in turn, with Leo Yi at the wheel, was given another tag by Sandy Stuvik. The Porsche spun down to 18th place. The safety car was deployed for Nick Foster's Porsche to be retrieved, and late race, the 66 Lamborghini was given a drive-through penalty. By that stage, Yuki Nemoto had taken it over, but it was the bite a bit as Stuvik's car served the penalty. Mitch Gilbert was making progress up ahead of Aidan Reed, the 2 Australians going at it together, and more great battling rage on as Andrew Harrianto came into the mix. The Audi and the Lamborghini with the same footprint of car, both very, very good in these greasy conditions, humbling the Porsches and the Mercedes amongst others. Sandy Stuvik was the first to pit, bailing out of the race lead. Then it was Marchi Li that bailed, but not rejoining Hunter Abbott's championship-leading Mercedes. That had a wheel nut problem, and so that car condemned to retirement. On track, it was 86 then that had Aditya Patel at the wheel in second place after the pit stops, but he spun coming out of the last corner, and that cost him dear. It dropped him behind Shan Tong, who was able to go through. Yuki Nemoto was already the race leader, but then had to serve this drive-through penalty for the contact caused by teammate Stuvik. So it gave the race lead to this car. Shan Tong was up front, as into the lead of GT4 came 77, which was Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu. They were on target for a 4th class win of the year. A second outright win, however, for Marchi Li and Shan Tong. An all-action first race this weekend in the Blancpain GT Series Asia. So the grid is formed. We are almost good to go. The rain, as far as I can work out, has stopped. Whether it's going to be a dry road come the end of the race enough to make them think about slicks will be interesting. But if it does start to dry, it might well be that the pit window, when you do the mandatory driver change, the mandatory regulation pit stop, becomes ever more important, because that could be when some roll the dice and put slicks on. I've watched the tyre trolleys be taken off the grid, and no slick tyres, as far as I can see, being used, but it could be that after half an hour or so of the race, then the road is dry enough to prompt the use. Let's find out. And one driver that's going to be in the battle all day long, no doubt, championship leader Shan Tong. He's down on the grid. Let's hear his thoughts pre-race.
Okay, I'm here with Shan Tong. We've seen a great season from you and Marchi so far. How is your approach to this, the last rounds?
Obviously, we didn't qualify as strong as we wanted, especially in Zhejiang, and it's a really tight circuit, so it's wet race now, so everything can happen, and we just do our best and hope for the best, and we hope to get a few positions in this race to collect some really important points.
Okay, all the best. Thank you for talking to us.
So Shan Tong comes here as championship leader, won that first race in Shanghai, as we saw. Darrell Young and Marvin Dienst won the Sunday race. And Marvin Dienst absent this weekend. He's on WEC duty, so Peter Lee, back after an injury, takes his seat alongside Darrell Young, and indeed he will be the start driver in the number 99 Porsche. We've got 1 or 2 new drivers for the weekend. We've talked already briefly about having Christopher Dryspring here. There's Andre Heimgartner, fresh from the top 10 finish at Bathurst a week ago, one of the leading lights in Carrera Cup Australia. He's in the other Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche with Devon Modell. We have a new entry, the Phoenix Racing Asia car of Lim Kyung-wee and Melvin Mo, which won't score points, incidentally. It will carry an extra pit stop penalty, but it doesn't score points. So anybody that finishes behind effectively moves up and takes the points for the place ahead that would have been occupied by that car. That might well prove to be relevant as the race goes on. We shall see. For the first time this year, they had standalone GT3 and GT4 qualifying sessions yesterday, and for the first time, therefore, we have a GT3 grid and then a GT4 grid behind it. So we will have 2 discernible groups. There is Mitch Gilbert's car, which will start second on the grid, but Aditya Patel, the Indian driver, is going to start, and Aditya Patel is, as ever, a man to watch, and very shortly we will get the cars released behind the safety car for this safety car start. 3-minute board is now being shown. We'll have a full look at the grid in a moment. Everybody now off the grid, apart from the last engineer, who will stay there just to fire up the engine, and then we will be good to go. The cars then to keep an eye to for the championship. Number 5 Audi, number 999, there it is, Hunter Abbott's Mercedes, that he will start, and then 86, which is the Aditya Patel Audi, starting from the outside of the front row of the grid. The Mercedes AMG safety car parked at the head of the grid. That's going to release the field once the race director is happy. Now, we had a different GT championship running earlier on in the day when actually the weather was worse, but that did, I think I'm right in saying, 2 safety car laps before the cars were released, so it might well be that you can anticipate that to be the same principle, a couple of laps before they go racing. There's a 888 Grupper M Mercedes. Tim Sugden will be the start driver. Tim, who's done a lot of racing in China in Carrera Cup Asia, but like many, new circuit for him, as that car starts on the 3rd row of the grid. The 1-minute board is about to be shown. The Blancpain GT Series Asia 2017 finale this weekend. We've got a race today, we've got a race tomorrow morning. 2 laps under safety car procedure. There we are. I was right in suggesting it was 2 laps. That's what the race director has confirmed. So 2 laps behind the safety car before we go racing. And looking down onto the grid, it is complete. There are no gaps, so no dramas from yesterday. Thankfully, everybody is good to go. And very shortly, the safety car will set off. And as soon as it does, the clock will start. As soon as the cars move away from the line, the race is on. So that the hour starts when the cars leave the line, not at the point the safety car peels off, just to make the points again. And the safety car will be setting off very shortly indeed. Lights on, the 1 minute board is shown, so engines fire up. One of the beauties of a GT grid, not only the different shapes and size, but also the different sounds that all the cars make. And there's a real mix looking down onto that grid. Lamborghini and Audi at the front, Lamborghini and Mercedes on row 2, Porsche on row 3. A bit further back, you've got the Ferrari, Max Weiser and Zhejiang's car. Max Weiser's already been out in a GT4 race earlier on in the day. And so a lot of busy people around the Zhejiang circuit this weekend. So we're almost ready to go. 2 laps under the safety car, then we will be in business for the penultimate race of the championship. It could be resolved today, but in order to do this, Marchi Lee and Shan Tong have got to win. Hunter Abbott has got to be 9th or lower. It doesn't matter about number 86. So keep an eye to the number 5 Audi, see where it can get to, because the car will start on the 4th row of the grid. Safety car pulls away, and so the race is on. The hour has started, and as the cars go down towards turn 1, Aditya Patel very slow away. Either he wasn't ready or wants to try and give Christopher Dryspring a big old gap, then he's got plenty of option to blast away and catch up and put the warmth into the tyres, but very slow away was Aditya Patel. Christopher Dryspring now waiting for him. Christopher, who's raced in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe this year, new to Blancpain GT Series Asia, but was very, very impressive yesterday when he put the car on pole position, so much so that he's been quickly upgraded to a silver driver, so the car carries a bit more weight. There is the Zhejiang and Max Weiser Ferrari. So there you've got the cars wriggling out of turns 2 and 3. Just behind there is pit out. The cars, you'll see this when we get to the pit window, they blast underneath the circuit. Pit lane's on the outside, but they rejoin on the inside, so it's very dramatic to watch the cars. It's almost like coming out of an underground car park, blasting up the ramp and back onto the circuit. Aditya Patel, new livery, you'll notice, on the OD Racing Audi for the purposes of this championship showdown weekend. It's strange in a way to think that they're so far back in the championship, 28 points away, given that they've had a, on the face of it, very successful season, but a couple of results where they've had a win or a second or a podium go begging have rather hurt the Indian-Australian combination. For example, that puncture that they had at Suzuka didn't help life for the Audi drivers, so they've had 2 retirements and therefore 2 non-scores. But for that, they'd be even closer. But you never know what might happen in a race like this on a greasy circuit. It's not fully wet, I wouldn't have suggested now, but it is certainly damp enough to catch out the unwary. And with 2 minutes already elapsed, the cars make their way down towards turn 16. There's Hunter Abbott, the championship leader. He went to Shanghai thinking he might be the champion when he had that dreadful weekend with problems in both races. He's back with Maxi Book for the purposes of this weekend. So over the timing line goes the safety car, and they are in grid order, which means Christopher Dryspring leads the way from Aditya Patel, running in second place, Lamborghini and Audi. This is the order on the grid, this is the order on track. Aidan Reed runs third, ahead of Hunter Abbott in the Mercedes. Then fifth, it is Tim Sugden in the 888 Group M Mercedes, with Devon Modell in number 88 Porsche. Seventh is Marchi Lee, starting number 5, and running 8th is Alex Au, starting in the number 6 sister Phoenix Audi. 9th is Peter Lee in Darrell Young's Porsche, and 10th is Jingzhu Sun, the Milestone Racing Audi, shares with Frankie Cheng. 11th is Rick Yun in the champion Sparkplugs liveried Ultra Smart KCMG Audi. Andrew Harrianto, as ever, going solo. They are ahead in turn of Jeffrey Lee in the Absolute Racing Audi, and Jin Yang with the Ferrari he shares with Max Weiser. Then you've got Lim Wei, new to the championship in the Phoenix Racing Asia Audi, that he shares with Melvin Mo, and it is Zheng Ting, another newcomer, alongside. And then rounding out GT3, James Kai in the Aston Martin. GT4, headed by Porsche Caymans. Frank Yu is on pole, with Kan Zhang lining up, would have been alongside, now running behind him in race order. They're ahead of Keo Chang and Tony Fong, sharing with Terence Tsay, and then Byron Tong rounds out the order. So 22 cars rather we have, and 23 spaces on the grid, because there's one place left vacant, 18th not occupied, because of the way the two grids have been split, one put behind the other. So at the end of this lap, we should be good to go racing in the penultimate round of the Blancpain GT Series Asia, a championship in its first year, and great racing it has delivered. And yet again, the weather gods have something to say about it. So in these greasy, slippery conditions, Christopher Dryspring has now got the hard work to do, really, because he's going to be the pioneer for the first lap. He is going to be the man that discovers the grip level before anybody else. Down towards turn 16 they come. They will blast their way onto the pit straight. The green flags fly. Dryspring leading. Aditya Patel is second. Third is Aidan Reid as they come over the timing line. Down then now towards turn 1. And it is the Lamborghini that has the advantage. Patel slots in behind in second place as the cars turn their way now through turn 2. Turn 3 takes them over the brow, and then they will slither their way on a track that I reckon is drying, and slicks could still be relevant when you get to the pit stop window. Fourth place is Hunter Abbott then as the cars work their way for the first time out of turn 5, drop downhill. And the race leading car then, the Lamborghini, with Christopher Dryspring at the wheel of it, trying to get away here from Aditya Patel, who's in second place, but he's coming under attack, isn't he, from Aidan Reid as they drop downhill for the first time. Abbott is fourth, Tim Sugden is fifth. And then in sixth place, Devon Modell in the Porsche, with the championship leaders seventh at the moment. So Mochi Lee and Shan Tong's car, Mochi Lee at the wheel of it, seventh, with work to do over the remaining 54 minutes. They're heading up towards turns 10, 11 and 12, where, because it's pretty tight, that's going to be a permanent yellow flag zone. And there's already a yellow flag waving, and safety car boards are being prepared, and that's why Zhejiang off the road in the Ferrari straight away. So the Ferrari off track, safety car looks like it's about to be deployed. The boards are ready, and the safety car, yes, is going to be deployed on the opening racing lap. So the safety car back out, safety car start, safety car in the race as well. And there it is, the Mercedes-AMG safety car will collect the pack behind it this time around as Christopher Dryspring then leads the way. Second is Aditya Patel, third is Aidan Reid, and there, in fact, the Ferrari didn't even get to the line, did it? That crashed coming into turn 16 before the green flag. That's going to take some explaining. Everybody circumnavigates it round the outside. There's a bit of debris on the road. There's a battered car as well that needs to be retrieved. And so all of this eats into the time available for these drivers to do anything in terms of opening up gaps. So this is why we have the safety car, and let's have a look at how it got there. So the leaders come over the line. Look in the background. In a moment, do we see the Ferrari start to slide? Not coming out of the last corner. So Zhejiang having his spin as the race leaders work their way through turn 3. Replay of the start with that great getaway for Christopher Dryspring, and he was already about 3 lengths clear. And there is the Zhejiang problem. That's a big hit front and back. Accelerated, then I think had to brake for the corner, and the back just completely broke away, turned him sharp left into the barrier. So there's damage to the front, there's damage to the back, and the car is still stranded. So this, I fear, could be quite a lengthy safety car period. So the field had precious little time, really, to shuffle the order around. And the Ferrari goes nowhere, certainly in this race. So, as you were, race order, grid order, pretty much. Limited overtaking had happened. The pit window between 25 and 35 minutes will remain. So these drivers are, as I say, not going to have many racing laps in which they can really shuffle the order. So you've got 999, Hunter Abbott 4th, thinking championship, Mochi Lee 7th in Audi number 5, and Aditya Patel, who's the real outsider here, in 2nd place, number 86 Audi. And just thinking for a moment, Alex Howe had a problem in number 6. It looked like he peeled to one side, but slots back into the queue. GT4 still being headed by 77, the pole car, the Porsche Cayman. They're all Porsche Caymans again this week in GT4, and it's the Craft Bamboo racing car, Frank Yu and Jean-Marc Merlin, that has the class advantage. And of course that is also the car that is leading GT4 in the championship. So the field comes down towards the incident zone, but we're still waiting for the recovery vehicle to get there so that it can move the Ferrari out of the way. over the timing line comes the safety car, and everybody behind busily weaving around, trying to maintain the warmth in the tyres, maintain the tyre pressures. There is Marchi Lee, who is running in 7th place, but frustration for the drivers here. They can't get on with the job. So through they turn, out of turn 1. And there is number 5, Marchi Lee, in the Audi, in a car that's going to need to get a real wriggle on when we get to the proper race condition, when we get a green flag, because that car, with a diminishing number of laps, will be oh so keen to try and make some progress up the order. So we are still behind the safety car, as the recovery vehicle has now arrived to collect the Ferrari of Zhejiang. So that car will be out of harm's way shortly, and then we can go back to racing. So there is the car that's leading in the championship now, which is the Marchi Lee number 5 Audi. And the championship opposition, of course, is 999 Hunter Abbott in the Mercedes, which he shares with the very quick Maxi Book. They've got Alex Young looking down in the Phoenix pit bunker. Shan Tong will be there as well, I think, looking at how his car is getting on, as the race leaders then come for lap 5 down towards the hairpin at turn 13. Christopher Dryspring then hanging on to his advantage. There's number 1, Aidan Reed, in the FFF Racing Lamborghini. And with the marshals still busy at turn 16, the Ferrari remains on the road, but recovery operation is progressing nicely, and it shouldn't be too long, I would have thought now, before that's going to be out of the way. So for Lee and Tong to win the championship in race 1, they've got to win it, and the car is currently 7th, and we've got 49 minutes and counting still to go. So a lot of work to be done in less time available to them now. Safety car comes down through turn 16, and the Ferrari is being towed out of harm's way now, so we should be good to go racing pretty shortly. Through they come. There, number 99, Peter Lee, former Formula 3 driver in the FIA European Championship. Welcome back to Blancpain GT Series Asia, having had to miss the last weekend due to an injury. And he's got behind him, almost alongside him there, a very eager Jingzu Sun, trying to find a way to get ahead on the restarts, which hopefully is not going to be that far away now as the cars work through turn 1. In GT4 still, it is Frank Yu ahead of, in 89, Kan Zhang, and then 3rd in GT4 currently, number 17, Keo Chang, starting in that car. Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu 12 points ahead in the championship of Byron Tong and Eric Lowe, who are at the moment at the back of the queue. They've got some work to do. And then it is Keo Chang 3rd in the GT4 part of the championship. Alex Au versus Peter Lee on the restart there. The Ferrari is off the track. It's being towed away from the pit lane, in fact, just to get it off the track quickly. And as soon as the race director is happy, then he can give the signal that the lights can be extinguished and we can get ready to go racing once again. So there you've got the Peter Lee Porsche in 9th place. Jingzu Sun is behind. You've not only got GT3 and GT4, but there is the Silver Cup and there is Pro-Am as well to factor in across the GT3 part of the race. So lots of different classes to look for as well. In the AM Drivers' Championship in GT3, Andrew Harrianto, who drives solo, is the leader there, 10 points ahead from the number 2 Lamborghini, Lin Yu. And then the 3rd of the AMs in the championship is the combined Aston Martin duo, James Kai and Kenneth Lin. GT3 teams, Group M being the leading team, 66 points up on Audi Hong Kong, and Craft Bamboo Racing currently 3rd in the team standings coming into this penultimate race of the season. Right, safety car is in at the end of this lap, so it will peel off into turn 16. And now Christopher Dryspring, who's had to control the pace once for the start, has got to do it again for the restart, with Aditya Patel tucked up behind him as they come then down to turn 16. Fingers crossed we won't have any more dramas. The road getting a bit drier, the road will be faster, but we've had so little racing mileage put in, it's really hard to gauge just how quick it might become. Through goes Dryspring then to restart the race in the lead, being pursued by Aditya Patel, who has a look to the inside line down at turn 1. Can't do it. Third is Aidan Reid in the Lamborghini, who is right there looking to try and get in on the act as well. Fourth is Hunter Abbott. Fifth is his teammate Tim Sugden. And then sixth is Devon Modell, the young Brit, as they climb uphill then for the now 7th time. Green flag show and no dramas as far as we are aware of around the circuit, as Aidan Reid, just like he Reid is in the clutch, acting as a buffer really, keeping cars behind Hunter Abbott, enabling him to lead. Mercedes ahead of Audi as far as the championship situation is concerned. Out of turn 12 they come then. Christopher Dryspring with a wiper on leading the way. Aditya Patel wanting to make progress, but he's having to defend at the moment. Aidan Reid looks for a way around the outside at turn 13, can't do it there. Hunter Abbott is almost with them as well in 4th place. Number 999, the man that did lead the championship for much of the season. The former British touring car racer has had a really good season in Blancpain GT Series Asia with 3 different co-drivers. That's why he's on a different point score from Maxi Book. Down they come then. End of the lap, and it is Dryspring at the end of lap 7, ahead of Patel, ahead of Reid, ahead of Abbott, then Sugden, then Devon Modell in the Porsche there going through. The leaders come over the timing line with Aidan Reid being the quickest man at the moment, but the 2 Lamborghinis, both the Sospiri car, the FFF racing car, both looking very, very comfortable in these greasy conditions, just like they did in Shanghai, thinking back to what we saw there. And in fairness also, they were pretty good, the Lamborghinis, although different teams had the success in Fuji. So the race leaders work lap number 8, and we're not that far away, like about 9 minutes from the pit window opening. So for some of these drivers, the stint's going to come to a premature halt. As up the inside for 2nd place has just gone Aidan Reid at turn 6, but it didn't work for him. There, number 5 is Marchi Lee. Have a look at what's going on behind, though. There is for 3rd. Hunter Abbott tries to get up the inside. Aidan Reid delayed himself attacking Patel, and that leaves him open now for Hunter Abbott to try and get the Mercedes up and past. It is still Dryspring leading the way. Patel is 2nd. 3rd just is Reid. 4th is Abbott. Tim Sugden is 5th, and now, significantly, Sugden has got Marchi Lee tucked up behind him. Marchi Lee has got himself ahead of Devon Modell, so now Tim Sugden has got to make that Mercedes very wide to stop the Audi getting up with his teammate. Hunter Abbott, lights on, chases after Aidan Reid, the very quick Australian driver ahead of him, and Tim Sugden goes defensive at turn 13. He's got to be the cork in the bottle now, try and keep cars behind him and therefore behind Hunter Abbott. Christopher Dryspring leading the way, but he's not really getting away, is he, as they come down towards turn 16 once again. Marchi Lee then charging on behind Tim Sugden, who goes defensive on the inside line, down towards turn 16 now. Through the right hand, the left hand they come, nose to tail. The leaders go over the timing line with the gap just half a second between Dryspring and Patel. Reid is 3rd, Abbott 4th. Best lap of the race, Marchi Lee. He's the fastest man on the track as he comes up to attack Tim Sugden down at turn 1. The Mercedes AMG GT3 really under attack now as Sugden goes a little bit wider at turn 3. That gives the Audi the chance to challenge up the inside. That becomes the outside at turn 4. Tim Sugden stays ahead, defending absolutely as you would anticipate, but he runs wide at turn 5. Marchi Lee's going to go ahead. Round the outside, Marchi Lee gains 5th place, so Tim Sugden's efforts to defend, they were kind of compromised at turn 3. He was always on slightly the wrong line all the way down to turn 6. He's lost out, and now for the race lead, Dryspring is under huge attack from Aditya Patel, who needs to go round the outside there because it's the inside for the next corner. He's going to go through, is he? Yes, he's got his nose in front. Aditya Patel takes over the race lead. Aidan Reid will go 2nd, and Christopher Dryspring drops back into 3rd position as they fall downhill again. Turns 10 to 12, that little sequence downhill there is a permanent yellow flag zone, so the job was done just before the yellows. And there you've got Aditya Patel then as the race leader, but can he get away at turn 13? Aidan Reid up to second, down to third in the Vincenzo Sospiri racing car, Christopher Dryspring. And then for fourth place, it is Hunter Abbott. But before long, Hunter being hunted by Marchie Lee is going to be under attack, isn't he? Marchie Lee running then now in fifth place, closing up. Sixth, it's Tim Sugden. Seventh, Devon Modell. Peter Lee is eighth. Jingzu Sun is ninth, and 10th is Alex Hours. The leader goes over the timing line. Aditya Patel trying to get away now from Aidan Reid. 8/10 of a second is the margin. Dryspring is third, and what's the gap between Hunter Abbott and Marchie Lee? 1.2 seconds, and 6/10 quicker was the Audi than the Mercedes last time. 86 goes through. Aditya Patel then, the Indian driver, former polo champion. He's been a very useful GT peddler this year, no doubt about it, and he's got Aidan Reid riding shotgun now as the cars turn their way down through turn 5. Patel goes a little bit wider for the first part of that sequence. He's raced in the Audi R8 LMS Cup. As we look at what's going on in GT4, the class was being led by 89 over the timing line, that being the car of Can Zhang, and he stays ahead of Frank Yu then down towards turn 1, or does he? No, Frank Yu goes back ahead in 77. The Craft Bamboo racing car goes ahead. All of these Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sports very evenly matched. There's been a real spread of winners over the course of the season. Bear in mind as well in this championship that if you're in the top 3, you carry a longer pit stop in the next race. So that's going to affect 99 Porsche in GT3, 10 seconds. Number 6 Audi will get 7, and the number 86 Audi gets an extra 5 for being third last time out. In GT4, however, number 77 still hangs on to the advantage. That car doesn't have any extra penalty in the pits, whereas the car it's defending from, that of Can Zhang, has an extra 5 seconds in the pits. It's going to get very interesting when the pit window opens in about 4 minutes' time as the leaders blast down to turn 16 now. Aditya Patel leading the way. He's done the fastest lap of the race, and then going up the inside of Hunter Abbott. Marchie Lee in the Audi. Had a long, long look, couldn't do it. Through they come. 10 laps are in the book. Penultimate round of Blancpain GT Series Asia for 2017. We've had some brilliant racing all season, and Hunter Abbott on the limit of adhesion at turn 1, almost left the door open there for Marchie Lee, but Hunter Abbott in turn is looking to get past rather sideways Christopher Dryspring, who's very deep through turn 3, has to try and cut across and get back towards the apex now. They go right at turn 4, then turn 5 brings them downhill, where Aditya Patel has got a little bit wide again, incidentally, and bringing Aidan Reid right onto his tail. This is Dryspring for third and Abbott for fourth. Marchie Lee is right there behind them. Tim Sugden is next in 6th. Well, look at the 2 leaders up the road. They're nose to tail. Dryspring, who led early on, has really dropped away now, and Hunter Abbott tries to force the issue going through turn 7. Can he get up the inside? No. He closes again at turn 8, but he just cannot find a way by. Marchie Lee looks for a way past the Mercedes as well. This could all be decided, though, in the second part of the race. The heroics shouldn't really be coming now necessarily. Just get your stint out of the way and then let your co-driver, who in most cases is the faster driver, do the hard work. Not exclusively, but in a lot of cases it's the faster driver that goes second. Hunter Abbott with the lights on then, trying to pressure Christopher Dryspring out of the way. Sandy Stuvik, the regular driver of 66, will take over for the second stint. Marchie Lee, who I think he's probably fractionally quicker than young up-and-coming Hong Kong driver Shan Tong. He's the one hustling on in this first stint, so that car needs to climb because it might drop away in the second stint, only by a place or 2, but again, it's going to be fascinating to see how it ebbs and flows, different fortunes. Abbott wide at turn 16. Again, Marchie Lee has a look, but again can't find a way by. Through they come, over the timing line once more, and the lead gap is 0.695 of a second. Patel is not getting away from Aidan Reid, who, just as we saw in Shanghai, is being very impressive in these conditions. Through they turn. So Aidan Reid, who's raced in the Asian Le Mans Series, he was the LMP2 class winner at Sepang in March this year. 4th in class in the Bathurst 12 hours. He runs 2nd in the race, crawling all over the back of Aditya Patel. Aidan came from the Formula Masters China Series last year. He had 9 wins on his way to runner-up in the championship, came out of Formula V in Western Australia, so he knows all about single-seaters, and in a short space of time has made a name for himself in GT cars. He's on the tail of Patel, trying to force a mistake out of the Indian driver once again as they climb now through the run towards turns 10, 11 and 12. Aidan Reid has done the fastest lap of the race as well. He's under the tail of Aditya Patel at turn 11 there. No opportunity to find a way by, though, until this part of the circuit where you're out of that permanent yellow flag zone. It's a bit like the hairpin at Macau is always a permanent yellow. Got it here as well for a sequence. So the new livery for 86 leads the way by 0.6, but remember that car's got 5 extra seconds to serve in the pit stops. However well it goes now, it will fall away going into the second part of the race. Not fall away by much, but fall away slightly. Down to turn 16 comes 86, the OD racing car that won at the start of the season in the hands of Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert, who will do the second stint in the car. They've only had that one win, but they have been, as they say, there or thereabouts all season long. Aidan Reid goes through in second spot. Aidan Reid tucked up behind, still looking for a way through. That car's had a 5th as its best result this season. And there, Christopher Dryspring, having his first race in the championship, took an absolutely standout pole position yesterday. And he's got Hunter Abbott and then Marchie Lee absolutely glued to the back of him as they come down towards turn 6 now. Abbott still busily flashing the lights, looking for a way through, but to no avail. Marchie Lee looking for a way past the Mercedes, but to no avail. But the pit window is now open, so some of these teams might well elect to bring the driver in early. I would imagine Hunter Abbott will be in this time to give way to the very, very fast Maxi Buch. Hunter, who's been a race winner in this championship this season, and of course has also been a class winner at the Nürburgring in the final round of the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup in Europe. He moved into these cars from the British Touring Car Championship, in which he was competing for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and right now he's being given a real workover by Marchie Lee at the same time as applying the pressure to Christopher Dryspring just up the road ahead of him. Downhill they come to the outside line. Again goes Marchie Lee at the hairpin at turn 13. And guess what? Hunter Abbott is able to fend him off for a little bit longer. Absolutely nose to tail, these two. And now, look, you can see Abbott is having to defend because he's dropping away from the third place car. He has completely gone into defend mode now. Is he going to come into the pit lane? Let's see. The pit window is open. Dryspring is in. Abbott is in as well. So that gives Marchie Lee a free ride. He gains 2 places, and with the road clear, let's see what he can do now about doing effectively qualifying laps to bring down the gap. Another one that's come in is number 10, which is Byron Tong out of GT4. So Dryspring is in, Abbott is in, Devon Modell is in, Tim Sugden is in, having dropped back behind the Porsche anyway. And Tim Sugden there, slotted in behind, and then had to go in front of number 999. So the pit lane is pretty busy. There's Devon Modell to give way to Andre Heimgartner, another newcomer to Blancpain GT Series Asia, but the double New Zealand Formula Ford champion, and the man that's currently 2nd in Carrera Cup Australia and sometime V8 Supercar co-driver, as indeed in Bathurst was he 9th a week ago. He will take over. Nick Foster away on WEC duty. This race having had a date change. That's why some drivers aren't available. That's why the entry has dropped a little. Some teams not available. Right, Marchie Lee, just to prove the point, as soon as he has clear road, has done the absolute best first sector time. So what Marchie Lee is being able to do now are effectively qualifying laps, and that in real terms is going to stand him in good stead to perhaps gain a place after the pit stops when he gives way to Shan Tong. That car, number 5, doesn't get any extra time in the pits. Aditya Patel gets 5 seconds. So Marchie Lee might stay out for as long as he can here. He's probably still quicker than Shan Tong. So maximise what's available to him. And now that he's got a clear road, he really can push. Beneath me in the pit lane are all sorts of sounds as engines fire back into life and cars growl their way down the pit lane again. The race leader, there he is, Aditya Patel, is on lap number 14, about to put that in the book and go through on his own now. Does that mean Aidan Reid has headed for the pit lane? I think it does, yes. So Aidan Reid is in the pit from 2nd place. It stops all cycling through as the Phoenix team set to work on number 16 there. So Lim Wee gets out of the car, and taking that over is Melvin Moe. That car doesn't score points this weekend, so if anybody finishes behind it within the top 10, they will move up there. Coming from the sort of underground car park pit exit, 99. That's Darrell Young now, winner last time out. That car having had to serve an extra 10 seconds in the pit lane. We've also got Andrew Harrianto in his Lamborghini. There's James Kye to give way to Kenneth Lim in the Aston Martin, that Aditya Patel staying out. Now remember, in the wet of Shanghai, he had that spin when running in the lead, which perhaps cost him the race in the end. And Mitch Gilbert was, in the TV interviews afterwards, pretty outspoken about his co-driver having that spin. Certainly didn't cut much slack to Aditya Patel. But in these conditions at the moment, Aditya is doing a good job. He hasn't put a wheel wrong. He's battled his way into the lead, and he's managed to withstand all the pressure as well. Fastest lap of the race, Marchi Lee, half a second quicker than Aidan Reid, who is now pitted. Down the pit lane comes 11, Tony Fong to give way to Terence Tsay, GT4. So Aditya Patel, see him on the inset, leading the way and trying to maintain as big a gap as he can over Marchi Lee. Both of them going a long way in this race. We are almost at the halfway point now. Pit lane gets busier as more and more arrive. There on the back of the flatbed arriving is the Zhejiang Ferrari. Race leader down the pit lane then. Aditya Patel comes in, and that means that Marchi Lee will now take over the race lead. The gap was 8.5 seconds. So job well done by Aditya Patel. He will get out. A pit stop, by the way, is 95 seconds, plus any penalty you may have, success penalty. So 95 seconds for this car, plus 5 seconds for being third in the previous race in Shanghai that was won by the 99 Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche. So 86, the OD Racing Team Audi. A bit of help from Absolute Racing. We'll go back into the race shortly. Into the second half we are, and Marchi Lee has now got himself caught up around traffic, so this goes against him. It was good when he had a clear road, but now he's got the number 13 Frankie Cheng Audi and 66 back after his pit stop Sandy Stuvik just up the road ahead. So for the moment Marchi Lee is stuck. He can't find a way through here because it's the permanent yellow flag zone. It would make sense, wouldn't it, for him to pit this time, because otherwise he's going to be stuck in the traffic for another lap or two. So Marchi Lee's plan was working well when the road was clear. Not so well now. He's got the lights flashing. He's got this battle ahead of him. He wants to get past. It's a battle for position that now, Stuvik versus Cheng. So they're not going to roll over and give up, compromise their own race. It's going to be tough, this, for Marchi Lee to get past. The team, I would imagine, the Phoenix team that operates this car, and Moses' team will be saying pit this time. Away goes Mitch Gilbert then. So that car rejoins the race. We won't know whether it's kept its lead, though, until Shan Tong blasts into the race, and he will do so very shortly, as in comes the leader. Marchi Lee then brings the car down the pit lane. So as predicted, when he got stuck in the traffic, it was time to bail. Down he comes, and so a good stint that by Marchi Lee. Remember, this car starting 7th on the grid, got itself up to the front. He's at pit out as well, so soon as Shan Tong is good to go, he can just blast away. Interesting that the drivers, even though it's a wet pit apron, aren't wearing any overshoes, so they've got slippery soles as well as a big, powerful race car to contend with. So there is 86. Is that going to be able to go into turn 1 ahead of the Audi that you're looking at in the pit stop? What's also interesting is, as far as we can see, they're staying on the wet tyres, even though the road is drying and the lap times are getting faster. That's certainly not one that's having its tyres changed. We haven't been conscious of anybody else doing the same thing. So Aditya Patel now watching on. Mitch Gilbert behind the wheel. That car turns its way out of turn 13. Countdown continues before Audi 5 is released. Fastest lap of the race, incidentally, Martin Rump, which is intriguing because he also did the fastest lap when he was on track earlier on in a different GT championship that was running earlier on in the day. So with the track knowledge, same sort of car as well, different team, but he's still in an Audi R8. Martin Rump putting that track knowledge and the knowledge of the conditions to good use. Right, Aditya Patel sees his car go back into the lead of the race. So at the end of the pit straight, 86 now, Mitch Gilbert leads, but in a moment you'll see there, look, the Audi blast from out of the pit lane, staying ahead of Hunter Abbott's car. So Maxi Book is behind Shan Tong. Bad news for the championship for Grupper M, that. So it is still 86 leading the way, and number 1, Alberto Di Folco, second is right with Mitch Gilbert. In third place is Shan Tong, and fourth is Maximilian Book. Battle continues between 86 and 1, just as it did before the stops. Number 11 is Terence Tsay and Tony Fong's car. Tony Fong under investigation for crossing the white line. Terence Tsay under investigation for crossing the white line at pit exit. He was the second driver. He was the one that left the pit lane. He's under investigation as there are the leaders trying to put the power down on a drying circuit. At Craft Bamboo Racing, Devon Modell talks to the team. New fastest lap of the race, Alessio Picariello now, 1:41.495. So lap through in the 42s, but if you're a real gun, a 41. Number 11, a drive-through penalty in GT4. Terence Tsay, by crossing the white line, gets a drive-through penalty. Car number 11, Picariello, fastest lap of the race. He's 13th, as here are the race leaders with 25 minutes of this race still to go. Mitch Gilbert now blasting away once again, just opening up that margin a little bit more as they come down towards turn 16. But Alberto Di Folco having his best showing of the season. This car's had good stints, but never a fully good race, apart from, I think, a 5th place. But now Aidan Reid and Alberto Di Folco going strongly together. Aidan Reid's good first stint, Alberto Di Folco then maintaining this car in that leading group. And look at the gap he's got over then behind him, Shan Tong. It's nearly 4 seconds. Maxi Buch is 6/10 back, and then it's Jules Kowiak ahead of Andre Heimgartner next up. Taking out of all of this, number 2, because for the moment, the car of Zheng Ping has yet to stop. So, in fact, it's in now, though it is in the background. So that was leading. Forget that now, as it blasts away. Being driven by Lin Yu. So it is, therefore, Gilbert, Di Folco, Tong, Buch, Kowiak, Heimgartner at the top 6. The pit window is now closed. Has everybody been in? Yes, they have. So nobody now needs to worry about a stop. They're good to run to the end, and there is Mitch Gilbert keeping Alberto Di Folco at bay, but only just. Could this be a win for the FFF racing team? By ACM entered Lamborghini Huracan. It's a team that's persevered all season. There is the Vincenzo Sospiri run Lamborghini. Sandy Stuvik trying to fend off Martin Rump. This is the battle for 10th place now. The car from the front row, the grid of Stuvik, Martin Rump, who missed the 2 Shanghai races after the car was damaged on the way to the grid for the first of them. But Rump, much underrated driver, the Estonian, is right there behind, looking for a way through. Makes a move, does he? Is that contact? Almost. The Lamborghini has to go wide, and Martin Rump makes the move. They lean on each other again and again, and through back ahead goes Sandy Stuvik. Martin Rump taking over from Rick Yoon in the champion back car. It's one of the nicest liveries on the grid, this, but it's now got a few scuff marks on it. That was very close indeed. Down to turn 16, they absolutely blast. Picariello still the quickest man on the circuit, and they're going wide is Shan Tong, and that gives Maxi Buch the chance to go through at turn 1. Important for the championship that Maxi Buch for Hunter Abbott's score is ahead of the main rival, and Jules Kowiak tries to get in on the axe as well and take points away from Shan Tong. The 3 of them together, but the 888 Gripper M Mercedes is arguably the more important now to see whether it can go ahead and take more points away. Third then is Maxi Buch. 15 points you get for third, 12 you get for fourth. So remember, coming into this race, between the top 2 there were 4 points. Now there will be 1, but if Kowiak gets ahead of the Audi, that will put Hunter Abbott back into the lead of the championship going into the last race tomorrow. Terence Tsay, by the way, has served his drive-through, and he's now being investigated for speeding in the pit lane when he served the drive-through. You know when it's just not your day. Jules Kowiak, in the meantime, crawling all over the back of number 5, Shan Tong, as they drop downhill. And there you've got Andre Heimgartner for Craft Bamboo Racing next up. The new fastest lap by Alex Young, former Grand Prix racer Jim Kowiak, dives up the inside of Shan Tong. And they have a little bit of a rub as well, but the Audi comes out ahead still. And it's got the inside line for the next corner. All of this is enabling Maxi Buch to get away. Now, it's not just, of course, about Jim Kowiak looking to take points and a place away from Tong. It's also about Maxi Buch trying to close on Alberto Di Folco up the road, but he's got nearly 5.5 seconds to try to make up. Maxi Buch through the GT4 Porsches there. The class now being led by Jean-Marc Merlin, who's taken over the class lead, the championship leader in GT4. Through goes Maximilian Buch then, crucially, ahead of Shan Tong. So if, just thinking GT4 for a moment, if Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu win, and Tong and Lowe finish 4th, or lower. Well, they are fourth. What about Chang? That car is currently second. No, I don't think they can do the GT4 crown in this race. Need to come up with some more maths when we get a chance, but I think both classes are set to go down to the wire in the final race tomorrow. Here, meantime, is the battle still between Stuvik and Rump. This is for 9th place, incidentally. But it's as fierce a fight as you'll find anywhere in the race at the moment. Through they come, still running together. Sandy Stuvik in the car that qualified on pole position. It's fallen away a little bit over the course of the first stint, and certainly in the pits. There is Maximilian Buch still pressing on. Is he lapping quicker than De Falco? Last time, no, but he had to do some overtaking. Over the timing line comes the race leader, Mitch Gilbert, and he's definitely shaking off Alberto De Falco now, isn't he? Because De Falco has dropped back to 2.7 seconds adrift as they go into turn 1. Third is Maxi Buch, and Buch's last lap is a 42.3, so he's falling away from De Falco as well. The gaps are widening between the top 3, so it's looking good for Mitch Gilbert. And Aditya Patel looks on from the pit lane. Let's hear from him with Renai.
Look, here we are with Aditya Patel. There's some great moves out there.
Yeah, it was a fun first stint with the safety car staying out for a little while. I think it cut short our time to really fight. But I was sandwiched between the two Lambos, and I knew the guy behind was super quick. So I needed to find my way past the car ahead of me as soon as I could. And the moment I found a gap, I found some grip. It was super tricky conditions out there. I just took the chance and went. There's a little bit of touching here and there, but even the guy behind was getting a bit feisty, so I just had to move and keep going.
Very cozy. What are conditions like out there?
It's very, very slippery. It's really hard to read the surface. I've driven on the wet before, but this is completely different to what I'm used to.
All the best for the rest of the race. Thank you very much.
Well, Aditya Patel has done an excellent job, as I'm saying. Wheels perfect in that stint. Now, number 6, Alex Young, is 8th, but under investigation because it looks as though the pit stop time was less than the regulation time. So that is being investigated. So number 6, which had the pit stop time plus the success 7 seconds, is being investigated. It could be that a penalty comes. Alessio Picariello, by the way, is 11th and the quickest man on the circuit still. He's done another fastest lap of the race, 18.5 minutes just over, still to go. And Mitch Gilbert driving off into the distance now. Are we going to get to a point where the wet tyres need cooling? The road is still damp. Nobody being able to find any real wet parts of this. Gilbert leads by 3.6 seconds. Alberto De Falco's last lap was a 42.4. Maxi Buch is closing. So just as Shan Tong is under attack from Szymkowiak, so De Falco is being caught by Buch. There is Stuvik just ahead of Martin Rump, and there behind, look, in the J-Fly Audi is Alessio Picariello now, this year's Audi R8 champion in the One Make Series. So he specialises in these cars now, and Rump gets up the inside of Stuvik, but can he go by? No, he can't. Sandy Stuvik hangs on to the pace, but only just right there behind him, almost pushing him along is Martin Rump. Now Picariello goes to the inside line out of turn 5, side by side downhill on the outside line is Martin Rump. There might be a bit more grip there coming out of the corner. Is he going to get his nose in front? Yes, he is. Fabulous move round the outside, sideways as well. Martin Rump goes through. Brilliant stuff. Picariello next behind, tries to find a way past Stuvik. Rump's up the curb and that delays him. They all concertina. But the champion car hangs on to the place then. Number 18, the KCMG by Champion Racing Audi. Picariello's all up the curb. Is he going to be able to go through? Look at the drive out of the corner. Stuvik sideways and Picariello is through. Brilliant stuff. The Lamborghini losing 2 places in quick succession as both of the Audis go by. And just to go back to the Alex Young story for a moment, the team manager of number 6, as it's entered, Audi R8 LMS Cup car, but Phoenix Racing is the team. The team manager being summoned to see the race director now. So let's have a look at how the move came. This was Martin Rump round the outside, got the job done really by them. But have a look at Picariello, because going into the next corner, Rump with a bit more speed, just ran a little bit wide there, hooked the curb, so Stuvik has to lift. And here comes Picariello, who finds a gap and just nails it. Goes from the outside to the inside, and there it is, up the inside, goes through. Brilliant stuff. And there is Jules Szymkowiak running in 5th place. Alex Young has just done the fastest lap of the race, but I fear his good work is going to be undone because he's surely going to be given some sort of penalty here. Team manager has to go and see the race director. So the race order, Mitch Gilbert leading and getting away, 4.6 seconds clear of Alberto Di Folco he is. Then in 3rd place it's Maxi Buch, but actually Buch's dropped back a little bit. Now, is this all down to traffic, or does the Mercedes genuinely not have the same pace that it needs against the Lamborghini? 4th is still Shan Tong, keeping Szymkowiak there. He is at bay. 6th is Andre Heimgartner. 7th is Frankie Cheng going strongly in number 13. That's going to be on for its best finish of the season, that car, if it finishes in 7th place. I think they've been 9th as the best, but this could be the best yet for Frankie Cheng. And then behind in 8th place for the moment, with this Damocletian investigation, is Alex Young. 9th is Martin Rump, and 10th is Alessio Picariello. That's how the order is for the moment. And there, look, Szymkowiak coming under pressure once again because he's now got Andre Heimgartner bearing down on him. The leaders have just gone by, and the gap is 5 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Maxi Buch's last lap of 41.962. He's falling away from Di Folco. It looks like the number 1 Lamborghini is going to be on for its best finish of the season, and Alex Young has been given a 1-second stop-go penalty. They were under the pit stop time plus the success added on, and so to make up the shortfall, it's a 1-second stop-and-go penalty. Very rare that the top teams make mistakes like that. You can be over and be safe, but under has dire consequences. And that's what's going to happen for Alex Young, so he'll fall out of the points and be a very frustrated, to say the least, driver. So the race order, with 23 laps done, Mitch Gilbert has the advantage now, 5 seconds clear of Alberto Di Folco. 3rd is Maxi Buch, 4th Shan Tong, and this you're looking at is 5th, 6th and 7th. Szymkowiak, Heimgartner and Cheng all running together. Whoops, somebody's been off the road there. It's one of the GT4 Caymans. That, I think I'm right in saying, is the Eric Lowe car, which is now 5th in the class. So that's bad news for that team. It's going to drop them out of contention for the championship hunt. Here, look, Maxi Buch has been caught, interestingly, by Shan Tong. Now, what's going on here? The gap was 1.3 seconds at the start of the lap, but Shan Tong is right back on the tail of Maxi Buch. A bit like we saw at Shanghai. The Mercedes don't seem to like greasy conditions, and the 999 car has fallen away from the top 2 and has been caught by a charging Shan Tong. So this crucial for 3rd in the race and for the championship lead as well. It's either going to extend it for the Audi or decrease it in favour of the Mercedes duo, depending on what goes on in the next 13 minutes. Maxi Buch doesn't often have to defend like mad, he normally attacks, but here he is coming under attack from Shan Tong, who has really advanced as a driver over the last 3 or 4 seasons. Maxi Buch goes to the outside line there. Is that all to do with tyre temperature, trying to cool them down? He keeps the Audi behind him as they blast their way once again now up towards the drop to turn 5 and then 6. It's not a high-speed circuit, but it is a technical one. There's lots of elevation change, some tight corners, some twisty sections of the circuit, so you have to have a car that's good on setup as well as a driver that's patient with the throttle through some of the slow corners. And that little bit of a rub between Martin Rump and Sandy Stuvik is under investigation. Crikey. It's one of those things on the slippery track, wasn't it? But it's being looked at by the stewards. So there you've got, in 3rd place, Maxi Buch, and staying with him all the way down the hill here, it is the hard-charging Shan Tong. Out of turn 13, 12 more minutes to go. Been a race full of drama, full of talking points, and we are not done yet because Alex Young has still got to serve his stop-go penalty, which will drop him down the order. Whether the team is still arguing about it remains to be seen, but normally once it's put on the board, then you can't argue anymore. It's all done and dusted. Over the timing line goes number 11. That's the penalised car of Terence Tsay. And so his Porsche Cayman is negotiated. And Alex Young, having just mentioned him, is now in the pit lane to serve the drive-through. There is the number 69 Aston Martin. Now that car is in 14th place overall, but leading the AM Cup. So James Kye and Kenneth Lynn are 14th ahead of Andrew Harrianto, and the Aston Martin going strongly here. Andrew Harrianto leads the AM Cup by 10 points. That will go to race 2. There's 77, the GT4 leaders yet again. Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu, they've had a great season in this Craft Bamboo Racing Run car. And coming over the timing line, 4 class wins have gone their way. And Jean-Marc Merlin, the French driver, based in Singapore, ex-historic racer. He's driven for Craft Bamboo in Bathurst, in Carrera Cup Asia, and accelerates on as there. Alex Young has fallen back into 11th place. He's just ahead of Darrell O'Young, so that puts him 11th after the stop-go penalty. The one-time Minardi Grand Prix racer climbs up the hill, and in a moment will come over the brow as there the Craft Bamboo team look on, including Frank Yu in the white overalls, the GT4 class leader. It's out of his hands though now, so he's got to look on and see Jean-Marc Merlin doing the hard yards, which he's doing well for the time being. So there you've got 99 Porsche. Darrell O'Young battles on in 12th spot, but the penalty of 10 seconds for winning last time out has got that car out of contention. So over the timing line comes Alex Young, and he runs currently in 11th spot. Darrell O'Young might be able to find a way past him. That Porsche looking pretty good at the moment. It's a shame it's so far down the order, having lost the ground early on. So we're into the final 10 minutes, just 9 and a bit remain of the race. There's another change, incidentally, that's taken place, which is now that Picariello is ahead of Martin Rump for 8th place. Again, anyway, because of Alex Young pitting. There it is. There's Picariello, number 7, and Martin Rump is behind him. Race order on screen. Gilbert from DeFalco, Boot from Thong, Jim Koziak from Heimgartner. Then it is Cheng, Rump and Picariello, with Student rounding out the point scorers in the top 10. Replay here of Picariello getting up past Martin Rump. Brave stuff, that, on one of the wetter parts of the circuit. In fact, the rather treacherous turn 1. In GT4, at the moment, we've got number 17 Porsche running in 3rd in the class. Now, this is the Keo Chang and Jeremy Wang car. If that drops another place, that's enough to give 77 a championship today. So if number 17 loses a place, but it's 22 seconds nearly up the road, I don't think it's going to happen. That would change things for the championship in GT4, but as I say, 22 seconds, that's really a big problem to lose all that chunk of time in 8 minutes. Andre Heimgartner goes through. This circuit designed by Clive Bowen, and an excellent job he has done with it. It's a really good mix of corners, the same brains that created, amongst other places, the Dubai Autodrome. Again, that also has a nice mix of corners. You've got all these elevation changes, you've got technical sections, twiddly bits, fast bits, and downhill comes the Porsche then now through the hairpin at turn 6. Short straight towards 7, and then the road starts to climb once again. Race leader Mitch Gilbert is on his way to turn 12 here as he drops downhill. And really, since, 5 laps or so ago, he's been able just to drive his own race and not have to worry too much about anything else behind him, because the gaps have continued to open up. He's well clear now of Alberto Di Falco, 8 seconds to the good he is. Di Falco has defaulted to a degree. That gap has widened, and so the Lamborghini has fallen away. But even so, actually, a 2nd place, still pretty good, I think, going into the final round tomorrow. It's the best result of the season for the number one Lamborghini, excuse me. As over the timing line now comes then the 86 Audi, and as it goes through, there in the background is number 1 Alberto Di Falco, 8.4 seconds back. 3rd is Maximilian Buch, who's shaken off Shan Tong once again. So what's going on here? In fact, that last lap was the best that 999 has done all race. So Maxi Buch maybe had a problem, which he's now driving round, but that car's pace yo-yoing a little bit. So he's closing on number 1 again, and he's shaking off number 5. So suddenly, attention is back on Maxi Buch. What can he do before the end of the race here to perhaps gain another place? He's not out of the equation yet, is he? Comes down towards turn 6. Shan Tong still hanging on to 4th, keeping at bay Zhejiang, who is next in the queue. But all the while, Maxi Buch's pace is looking a little bit better. As they turn now through turns 9 and 10, the Mercedes accelerates on with Maxi Buch's first sector, a 39.8. Actually, he's dropped away again from Alberto Di Folco on that first sector. He's slower. So curious, all of this, whether it's all to do with the conditions or whether this is not a Mercedes circuit. But it's odd that the last lap was the best the car had done all race, and now it seems to be struggling again. Unless it's tyres overheating, and so you let them cool for a lap or 3. Then you've got the grip again, and you can push, but that overheats them. So we've got 5 more minutes of the race to go. Concerned a moment ago because the man with the checkered flag picked it up. I thought that's been keen, and there's lots of radio chatter going on, but for the moment the race leading cars are on lap 30. 8.5 seconds is the lead gap. Right, so there goes Buch. That lap is a 42.3, so he's lost 4 tenths, but he's still quicker than Tong, and he's actually quicker than Di Folco, only by a fraction, but it came better, I think, in the second part of the lap for him, really, there. So 4.5 more minutes on the clock, and Shan Tong is going to go into tomorrow's race then having been outscored by Maximilian Buch. So you get 15 points for 3rd, you get 12 for 4th. It means it's going to be a 1-point advantage for Tong and Lee going into the last race. It could not be better, could it? It'll be a great way to end the season. Maxi Buch will start against Shan Tong, but Hunter Abbott's going to have to do the second stint up against Marchie Lee. And that's going to be tough, with all due deference to all concerned. GT4 still being led by Jean-Marc Merlin, having taken over from Frank Yu, and 17 is hanging on to 3rd, so it's going to be good for keeping that championship alive until the last round tomorrow. There, battling for the AM class in GT3 in the race and in the championship, it's Kenneth Lim at the wheel of the Aston Martin now. 3 3/4 minutes still to go as the cars work their way through lap number 30. Mitch Gilbert, the race leader, in what has turned out to be a very easy stint for him, perhaps easier than he might have anticipated. Kenneth Lim Cheng is at the helm of the 69 Aston Martin, the CMRT Eurasia engine car. Some of the opposition not here this weekend, like David Chipton Biantro and Gregory Tio's Ferrari, because of the date clash affecting where people can race. This race having to be moved only really with about 3 weeks' notice, pretty much. And there, you've got 88 Andre Heimgartner, 6th, Frankie Cheng 7th, heading for his best finish of the season, and he might yet get another place out of all of this. Over the timing line they come. To the inside line goes Cheng down at turn 1, and he's done it. Goes 6th, good move that on the inside line. Off the road goes Heimgartner, back on, and still in 6th goes Heimgartner. But I would have thought he's going to have to give the place up there because he really gained an advantage by going off the road. Round the outside goes Frankie Cheng. Does the Audi get the position? Yes, he does. The Absolute Racing car goes through. So Frankie Cheng takes over the place. And 6th, a very good effort indeed. You could argue it was helped by that long safety car period that gave fewer racing laps for the slower co-driver to be outgunned by some of the quicker drivers. But I'm sure Frankie Cheng will take the place anyway. Frankie Cheng Kung Fu, former DTM racer, amongst many, many other categories. How about the car that was on pole position? It's 10th, Sandy Stuvik. So that did fall away, and has never really looked like they're fighting back in this second stint, intriguingly. Frankie Cheng still hustling on. Could he gain another place before the end of the race? It's not that far, is he? Behind Zhejiang now. That could yet change before the end, couldn't it? 5th could be on. Heimgartner having fallen back from 6th, dropping away. The race leader should be through in a moment to complete lap number 31 and should start his last lap. There is now less than a lap time left in the race as the leader has gone by. So So it should be the flag this time. The last lap board didn't go out. It's very, very close, but I think we're on the last lap here. Even if the flag doesn't go out, the timing will stop. So we'll get a result if this is the last lap, even if the flag isn't shown. But it's going to be very, very close by a couple of seconds. There is Shin Tong. Now, this is 5th through turn 1. It still looks very wet at that part of the circuit, doesn't it, compared to elsewhere? And so, as the Mercedes of Shin Tong climbs uphill, Frankie Cheng getting stronger and stronger as the race wears on here. He's right there behind him as the field now sprints its way for the last time, provisionally, down through turn 6 goes Mitch Gilbert, the race leader. His advantage 7.4 seconds. Maxi Bouc only closed by thousandths up against De Falco last time. And Alessio Picariello and now Martin Rump have both got past Andre Heimgartner, who's off. I think has put quite a bit of gunge in the radiator at the front of the car. So Heimgartner possibly now struggling with temperatures. Here is 86 then, heading down towards the hairpin into turn 13. He will come in a moment. Mitch Gilbert won the opening race with Aditya Patel at the start of the season back in Sepang. Is he going to be a race winner in this penultimate race as well? We are almost there. 13 seconds, 10, 9, 8, and a corner to go. As I said at the start of this lap, it's going to be very close indeed. But yes, it will be the flag this time because the clock will hit 0, and so the flag needs to go out. It does go out in time for Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel to win the penultimate round of the Blancpain GT Series Asia. Second, the best result of the season for Alberto De Falco and Aidan Reed. And third should go and does go the way of Maxi Bouc and Hunter Abbott, ahead of Shan Tong and Marchi Lee. That sets us up for an absolutely fabulous battle for the championship tomorrow, with a point between them. 5th, Jules Shimkowiak and Tim Sugden. 6th to Frankie Cheng and his co-driver Sun Jingzhu. 7th, Jeffrey Lee and Alessio Picariello. 8th, Martin Rump and Rick Yun. 9th, Andre Heimgartner and Devon Modell, and Sandy Stubik and Christopher Dryspring take 10th. And there's the GT4 class honours Jean-Marc Merlin. The car that's second in GT4 is already home, in fact, having already taken the flag. So 77 on its way up towards the timing line. And this doesn't give them the championship, but it gets them nearer to the championship. Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu then will go into tomorrow's race with one hand on the trophy, to use a phrase. So there is the Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche, which has been very much the benchmark car, benchmark team in GT4 this season. And it is heading towards the checkered flag and win number 5 of the year. So one more race to go tomorrow, and I just wonder whether Mitch Gilbert even saw the flag. It looked like he was still pressing on at a fair pace there, but I'm sure over the radio the team will have relayed the news to him. A quick look at Pro-Am, because that's a win for Maxi Bouc and Hunter Abbott in the race from Frankie Cheng and Sun Jingzhu. And third, Jeffrey Lee and Alessio Picariello. The winning AMs are Kenneth Lim and James Kai from Andrew Harrianto, and then the Zhengting Lin Yu Lamborghini, as happy drivers sprint down the pit lane to greet their co-drivers. And just to confirm, GT4, Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu the winners, ahead of Ringo Chong and Zhang Kan. And for third in the class, it is the Taiwan Top Speed Racing Team car of Keo Chang and Jeremy Wang. There is Mitch Gilbert. He has done it. A great drive, that, by not just him, in fairness, but Aditya Patel there, who is embraced. And as I said during that first stint, he did not put a wheel wrong. Absolutely excellent effort, that, by Aditya Patel. Coming on the back of a certain amount of more than just ribbing, it has to be said, from Mitch Gilbert after their dramas in the first race in Shanghai. So there, the rest of the cars come down the pit lane. There's Hunter Abbott in there somewhere. Great result for Aidan Reed and Alberto De Falco for the FFF Racing Team. Brilliant stuff from the squad that has had a difficult season, really, but the best result by far, and a very happy team indeed celebrating that. There is 77, Jean-Marc Merlin, who will come through shortly as the GT4 category winner. GT4 has been rather dominated by the Porsche Cayman this year. The one time that it wasn't a Porsche victory was when we had the McLaren arrive in Japan, dominated there, but otherwise it's been all about Porsche. Well, there are lots of happy drivers to hear from in Parc Fermé, and Renai Matu is with them.
Very, very happy, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had a great season, but we've had a few up and down moments, and finally back on the podium, back at the top of the podium, more importantly, and you know, we've kept ourselves in contention. We're doing absolutely the best we can to get back in. And this guy, well, I don't know where he's been all year, but what a drive.
What a drive, Aditya, come on.
It was good fun. I enjoyed every little bit of it. Like I said before, it was tight, close, and like Mitch said, we're doing everything we need to do this weekend to get as many points as we can, and then let's see at the end of tomorrow.
Championship's wide open. Congratulations. Enjoy that.
So I've been talking about how this affects the likes of Hunter Abbott and Marcelli Shan Tong, but of course that win brings Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel much closer in the championship now, because of course they have outscored their championship rivals by 10 points. So they were, what, 28 back? They're closer again. So it brings them into the mix going into the last race tomorrow. We'll see what the weather gods have in store, because it's been a pretty wet and mingy day here at the Zhejiang circuit. But, tomorrow could be wet again, but we will wait and see. Did look towards the end of the race as though the weather was worsening again, because the last laps that people were doing were all slower than they had been earlier on by a couple of seconds. So I think the rain had come back with a bit more of a vengeance, as Aidan Reid and Alberto Di Folco can celebrate the best finish of the season for the #1 Lamborghini, second place.
Here, second place winners, Alberto. That must have felt really great coming over that line.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant race, really tricky race in wet condition, but I'm really happy because this is our first podium at the end of the season, so never give up. We work a lot together with the team. I'm really happy about my teammate work and also the team. So I want to thank everybody, the team, and I'm really happy, really happy.
Incredible driving.
Yeah, we've been waiting for a race like this all season. You know, we've been working really hard. We've come to this championship, and for me, it's a very new experience coming to Blancpain, and we've finished the season with a podium, which I'm absolutely stoked with. And yeah, it was a crazy race. The car really came to us in those conditions, and yeah, it was just a joy to drive. I gave it everything, and we got a result that we were pushing for all year, so very satisfied with that.
We're not finished yet. We've got one more race tomorrow, guys. All right, thank you for talking to us. Congratulations.
And in the background, Hunter Abbott and Maxi Buch, who took third place. And of course, that's good for Hunter, because it's a few more points for him against Marcelli and Shan Tong going into tomorrow's final round. So a wet track, a slippy track, but one that's generated lots of good racing again today. And Hunter Abbott goes into tomorrow's race, we reckon, about 1 point back, only a point adrift of the championship lead for the Gruppe M Mercedes driver.
Okay, so here we go, third place. Maxi, talk to me about your drive.
Was pretty wet. No, Hunter did a good start. Everything was clean. He gave me the car on a good spot on P4, and then I managed to overtake the #5 Audi, which gave us, I guess, the team championship. And yeah, the car was pretty good. Not perfect, because the track is pretty difficult in the rain. It's as well pretty difficult in the dry, but I'm pretty happy with P3.
And all to fight for tomorrow.
Yeah, it comes down tomorrow now. So it's good. We managed to finish in front of #5. Max did a great job overtaking them. But we've got a couple of points to catch up.
All the best. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
So you can see how bad the track conditions have become again, but it's the end of the day here at Zhejiang as we confirm Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel as the winners, ahead of Alberto Di Folco and Aidan Reid from Maxi Buch and Hunter Abbott, with Shan Tong and Marcelli taking 4th. 5th, Jules Szymkowiak and Tim Sugden, ahead of Frankie Cheng and Jingzhu Sun. 7th, Alessio Picariello and Jeffrey Lee. 8th, Martin Rump and Rick Yoon. In 9th place, it was Andre Heimgartner and Devon Bodell. And 10th, Sandy Stuvik and Christopher Dryspring. Look down to 17th and you find the GT4 winner, Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu, ahead of Ringo Chong and Kan Zhang, with Jeremy Wang and Keo Chang taking third in the class, and just the one non-finisher, that battered Ferrari that never really got to the start proper, did it, of Zhejiang. So that car is going to have to be made ready for tomorrow. And let's have a look at what turned out to be another lively race. Here are the highlights. So as the race blasted away, it was Christopher Dryspring who led with, tucked up behind him, Aditya Patel, and then Aidan Reid, quick-starting Lamborghini, running third. It had been 2 laps behind the safety car because of the wet nature of the conditions, but when we went racing, it didn't last very long, because coming up to the green flag, this accident took out of the race the lone Ferrari of Zhejiang. So the safety car was deployed once again and everybody bunched up. Take 2, Tim Sugden ran a little bit wide, and that enabled Marchi Lee to come through. Crucial as he tried to get up with a 999 Mercedes for the championship. Aditya Patel pulled off a really good move against Christopher Dryspring to go for the race lead, while Frank Yu got ahead of GT4 as all the Porsche Caymans were trading paints and swapping places. But the pit window opened. Lott came in early to get driver 1 out, the quicker second driver in. At roughly the halfway point, Aditya Patel, who'd not put a wheel wrong, came in to give way to Mitch Gilbert. The OD racing car being able to rejoin in the lead, despite the best efforts of Phoenix, who brought in Marchi Lee, put Shan Tong behind the wheel, and that car rejoined significantly ahead of championship rival Mercedes, number 999. Maxi Boot got ahead, though. That gave the team's championship to Group M, and it also meant that Hunter Abbott is closer to the Audi drivers within the championship. There was no stopping the 86 Audi, though. Mitch Gilbert drove away. There's a great move here by Martin Rump, put him around the outside of Sandy Stubik, and he gained a place with Alessio Picariello being able to follow through as the car's concertinaed coming into turn 8. That delayed the Lamborghini enough to let Picariello have the pick of the lines. He went for the outside, and that became the inside as the road switched across. He gunned it on a wet part of the road, and the drive out of the corner was sensational. Through he went. A snaking Sandy Stuvik dropped back, and then Picariello made his move against Martin Rump. He went through, diving down towards turn 1. The lead gap, though, was hovering around the 5-second mark as up towards the checkered flag came Mitch Gilbert to score victory in round 11 of Blancpain GT Series Asia. And so we now go to the podium where the presenters are ready and the rather bedraggled trophy girls are there, and very shortly the drivers will be there as well. Renai Matu will host the podium ceremony. We'll be able to eavesdrop, we'll be able to see the reaction of the drivers as the now saturated teams take the cars down the pit lane. There, for third place, Hunter Abbott and Maxi Book. A delighted second, best result of the year for Aidan Reid and Alberto Di Folco. And for Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel, it is a second race win of the season. And now the chairman of the Zhejiang circuit steps forward to present the trophies. And there will be, hopefully, the series prize money checks as well that Benjamin Franasovici, the championship manager, will be able to distribute for the season-long entries. Mitch Gilbert, Malaysian-born Australian, that's where he's got the Malaysian flag draped around him. We hope that some of these teams will be represented in the 12 Hours of Sepang at the end of the season, the big GT bonanza at the end of the year. It's another SRO organised event. And of course, for the champions, there's the SRO Awards in Paris. This is the 25th year of organising motorsport from the Stéphane Rattel organisation. And in the penultimate weekend of November, the awards and gala dinner in Paris no doubt will be attended by the victorious teams and drivers from this first ultra successful season of Blancpain GT Series Asia. So now the drivers have the champagne, and if they're not wet enough, they soon will be. A delighted Aditya Patel. That lays to rest some demons, I would have thought, after the spin that he had in Shanghai. He did not make a mistake here, did he? By golly not. It was a great drive by Aditya Patel. The Mercedes AMG safety cars we saw made a fair amount of appearances in that, and was instrumental in part, I think, for giving good results to some of those teams that normally fall away in the first stint, because with the slower driver having fewer laps to do, kept those cars in contention for the quicker co-driver in the second stint. But had it been as wet now as sorry, had it been as wet during the race as it is now, it might have been a different story with people tiptoeing round. But having suggested it was drying up towards the end, it has certainly started to rain with a vengeance once again here. They don't need to go out again until tomorrow. Qualifying has been done, so we know already what the grid is like for tomorrow's second race. And it is going to be Mitch Gilbert on pole position for race 2. As now we have the drivers then for the Pro-Am podium. Third there are Alessio Picariello, this year's Audi R8 LMS Cup China champion, and Jeffrey Lee. Second to a very happy Frankie Cheng and Sun Jingzhu. But not just third overall, but the winning Pro-Ams, Maxi Buch and Hunter Abbott. The German and British drivers make their way onto the top step of the podium. And it will be Diana Hu, the event manager for Blancpain China, who stepped forward to hand over the trophies. So first of all to Jeffrey Lee, then to Alessio Picariello. Then at the other end of the podium for second position, best result of the year this, 6th overall for Frankie Cheng and Sun Jingzhu. But for Hunter Abbott and Maxi Buch, it is a Pro-Am win in the Grupper M Mercedes AMG GT3. And Hunter Abbott has had a very successful season. He has racked up quite a lot of these Blancpain clocks over the course of the year. And there's another one for the office wall of the man behind the Alcasense breathalyzer device. And that's what Hunter does when he's not racing cars. He has an instrumental part in road safety. We still have, of course, the Pro-Am and GT4 podiums as our Pro-Am drivers celebrate. We look forward then now to the final round of the championship, and Hunter Abbott would like to be on that top step tomorrow as a race winner and certainly as a champion. It might happen. Join us tomorrow to find out. It promises to be an absolutely breathtaking end to an amazing first season. It was announced late last year. The entries, no one really knew what to expect, but they have been strong and increasing with new teams and teams coming from different championships across the course of the year to make the Blancpain GT Series Asia a real hit in year one. So the podium now being prepared for the Stormtroopers from the GT3 AM competition, where the other half of the FFF racing team will be there, because for third place, in fact, in AM will be Shan Tong and Lin Yu. Andrew Harrianto electing again to drive on his own, taking second place, and Kenneth Lim and James Kai taking the class win. Pirelli wet tyres having worked overtime during the course of that race, and the drivers for the AM Cup will be brought forward now. The GT3 AM ceremony will be led out by the third-placed combination of Zheng Ting and Lin Yu, who are still in with a chance of winning the AM competition. Lin Yu. Andrew Harrianto there, the brother of former Grand Prix racer Rio Harrianto. He takes second, in addition to his activities this year in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia. And Kenneth Lim, and ahead of him James Kai, step forward on to the top step of the podium. So another good win in the AM category for Kenneth Lim and James Kai as the trophies are presented, and we will see whether or not any of these drivers are back on the podium tomorrow. The championship then in GT3 and GT4 goes down to the wire. 1 hour of racing here tomorrow at Zhejiang will determine who is going to be the Blancpain GT Series Asia champions for 2017 in the two classes. It promises to be a stunning way to end the season. We look forward to your company tomorrow for the showdown. And as the AM drivers celebrate, there is just one more podium ceremony still to go, and that is for the drivers from GT4, who will be there shortly. But the AMs, as AMs tend to do, celebrate in style and at length. But it's great to have the AM drivers recognise the danger sometimes is that they get rather forgotten about in a championship that is so rich on pro drivers. But the AMs, as I say, well catered for across the Blancpain GT Series Asia, and indeed all the SRO championships that have a similar structure to look after those that have to drive a desk as well as a racing car during the week. So the GT4 drivers, again, it's been dominated by Porsche, and they will step forward in a moment with Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu. Now I think it's fair to say with one hand on the title. It's going to take some very bad luck tomorrow to stop them from taking the championship now. But we will see. Stranger things have happened in motor racing. And so Jeremy Wang and Keo Chang step forward for their third place in GT4. Zhang Kan and the ebullient Ringo Chong in the black and yellow overalls. And then Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu, for the 5th time this year, take the top step of the podium.